Hey everyone, we're back with another episode of Watch Talk. I'm Emily, here with Justin and Ripley, and today we're reviewing some pretty big watches.
Also, if you haven't done so already, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can stay up to date on our latest video content.
We've got a great variety, but before we get to this, we've got to do a wrist check. All right, Justin, you want to kick this one off today?
Yeah, I got something good today. I'm wearing the Apollo 11 50th Anniversary Limited Edition. Really cool one. This is the one in steel, has a little bit of gold accents.
Yes, it does.
It's a beautiful watch.
That might be one of my favorite modern Omega bracelets, like currently in production.
Yeah.
I totally agree. This bracelet is really good.
Stealing the words out of my mouth. That bracelet is epic.
Yeah.
Great
what do you
pick.
got?
All right, I'm wearing a Cartier Pasha. This is a fun little moon phase calendar. You know I like it.
I'm wearing the Panerai Mare Nostrum. It's the most un-Panerai looking Panerai, but it's not enormous, and it just looks really unusual and goes with the blue coat and shirt.
It looks good, and you don't see that one very often.
No, not at all.
I like that.
Well, speaking of watches that you don't see very often, we've got a fun variety that today we're going to kick it off with something that is a little bit more common than the most, so make sure you stay tuned for some of these second, third, fourth, and fifth watches. So our first watch today is a Rolex Daytona. This is a 1165 18LN. Obviously, you can see it's on an Oyster Flex. Ripley, talk about this kind of vintage colorway we've got going on.
So this particular one in yellow gold was one of 3 that was released in 2017 alongside the white gold and ever rose gold models. What those 3 have in common is they're made out of solid gold, they feature black ceramic bezels, and they're fitted to black Oyster Flex bracelets. They have a few different dials available, but it's one of those things where the color of the gold actually really plays a role in the overall kind of vibe of the watch.
Oh yeah.
This yellow and black, it kind of has a colorway that's a little bit reminiscent of the vintage John Player Special and Limoncello Daytona watches. Both are mega expensive, so and really hard to find. So this is a very kind of a modern version that still has that similar aesthetic with a gold case, you know, black bezel, but it's a modern Rolex, so you can swim with it. You know, you don't need to worry about having a multi-$100,000 watch on your wrist.
This one's good. I like the gold. I like the, more specifically, I like the black and gold. You know, gold's not usually my first choice. I'm very hit and miss if I'm into it or not. I think the black subdials make a big difference and go a long way for me on this one. Rather than just being the solid gold tone dial, the black really breaks it up and it goes well with the bezel and the strap.
And even the outline hour markers, I love.
Yeah, how they have the black surround around the loom. Yeah, it looks really good. I think it's, you know, black and gold go together so well anyway, and all the different contrasting details on this one, I think it's really balanced. It looks really nice.
Yeah, and unlike the steel models that have a contrasting ring, this, like the vintage ones, it's the entire subdial that's done in a contrasting color. So although it's a similar overall layout, what you get as far as just immediate visual impact, it's quite a bit different, and like all the other Oyster Flex watches, it has those lug hoods that kind of fill the gap between where the case meets the edge of the strap.
Yeah, it's a nice touch too.
So it's not anything revolutionary, but it's a beautiful watch, fairly modern watch. It's only existed since 2017. And it's another instance of Rolex not ever doing a heritage or reissue piece, but, you know, paying at least notice to their past as far as the colors and just sort of general aesthetic
The look and feel, and it
yeah.
definitely has that nod to the vintage pieces with those colored subdials on the gold. I mean, that's something that we've seen.
But unapologetically modern. Ceramic bezel, Oyster Flex bracelet. Yeah, it's very modern.
And I like that. I mean, you see the watches that are pretty much just a reissue or a copy of the vintage, which is cool in its own right, but that's not what this is. This is a great mashup of, you know, it has the nod to the vintage piece, but like you said, it's unapologetically modern, and it has the ceramic bezel and all that. I think it's nice the way they've married those two.
I agree. It's a good one. I'm glad we've had a chance to kind of review it. So we're going to bring in this Tudor Heritage Advisor. This is another big one that at 42 millimeters. Ripley, I know you have a bunch of other really neat facts about this watch, so go ahead.
I mean, Tudor gets a ton of attention for their tool watches, I mean, primarily the Black Bay and Pelagos, but this is one of those ones that's really, really cool. It's currently part of their catalog, and I feel like it gets no love.
Yes.
It's the Advisor, the modern Advisor. The Advisor originally came out from Tudor in 1957. It was 34 millimeters then. The current one's 42 with a titanium case, but it's an alarm watch. So what you see on it, the top crown operates the alarm, the bottom operates the time. It's basically an ETA movement with a Tudor manufactured alarm module. The button on the left here toggles the alarm on and off. You get a date down at 6, a power reserve for the alarm because it uses a separate spring as the movement itself, and then an indicator for the on-off of the alarm opposite it on the 9 o'clock side. And at the price you pay for it, it's a ton of functionality and it's a ton of unique functionality as well. If you think about other mechanical watches that make noise, minute repeaters, they're insanely expensive. And this, especially with a titanium case, I'm shocked that they're not more popular than they are.
Want to show us how it works?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can see right here the on-off indicator will change with the press of the button. On, off. In this case, we're going to turn it on.
Okay.
If you pull the crown out to the top crown, which controls the alarm, to the first position, you're able to wind the alarm. So you'll see the power reserve right here, that little red arc,
definitely
start to increase as you wind it up to the alarm being full. That red hand is not an additional hour hand. What it is the alarm time. So you get one hand. So if you want to go at, say, 12:30, you're going to have to stick it between the 12 and the 1.
It's a very approximate alarm,
yeah,
right?
I mean, it's an approximate alarm, but this is a throwback to old days before digital anything. So bottom, just like a standard watch, winds, sets. You have the date down here. It's a pointer date.
I love that date.
As the alarm passes the alarm, or the hands pass the alarm hand.
Oh wow, and look at the power reserve.
Yeah, you can see the power reserve being depleted. It rings for the duration of it. It vibrates, it makes a sound, and it'll hopefully remind you have to get off to your meeting. Again, titanium case, which is something you don't see from Rolex ever. They do use titanium, but not ever as the sole case. It's probably due for resonating reasons, but it's a really unusual watch and right up there with any other alarm watch you're able to get. This is just a very modern iteration of it that is vintage inspired as far as its aesthetics.
What do you think?
I love this one. I think it's such an interesting watch, and like Ripley said, I'm surprised it's not more popular and it doesn't get more attention. I love an interesting complication. I like the stuff you don't see every day. When Tudor released the original Advisor, it was before the quartz movement, and alarms weren't something that was really easy to accomplish on a wristwatch. And having that full mechanical alarm that actually rang on your wrist with a vibration and a noise was just such a cool feature, and I mean, more useful then than today. But I still think it's no less of an interesting feature, and I would love to wear it and use it just because I can.
Absolutely.
Aside from that, the design I think is great. You mentioned the 6 o'clock sub-dial with the date on the 6 o'clock. Yes, I think that's a cool place for it. It's different. You instantly see it, and it looks like a sub-dial for chronograph or something, but it's actually the date. It's just really, really nicely designed, and I like this one a lot. I think it's really cool.
It's a true conversation piece. You know what I mean? Obviously, it has great functionality, and to be honest with you, the modern aesthetic is standout to me. I just think, as a whole, man, I would be talking about this anytime I wore it. You know,
it's such a conversation starter. And it has a lot. Like we said, we talked about the different date sub-dial. It has the power reserve, the button that turns the alarm on and off, and a little window that shows you that it's on or off. It's a true mechanical alarm that functions without any batteries, without anything. I mean, in the zombie apocalypse, this is the watch that is still going to work when you need to wake up on time, and there's no power in anything else.
I'm just shocked it's not more expensive, both at a retail level and pre-owned. If I told you what it is and explained the functions and it's titanium and all that, and I explained it's from Tudor, Rolex's sibling company, you'd be expecting it to be 10 grand or more, and that's not at all the case. Think about closer to half that. And it's, again, I think it's just one that's missed, but it's a really cool watch. And if you already own a Pelagos or a Black Bay or even one of their heritage chronos, this is a watch from Tudor that's right up there with all the other stuff as far as quality, fit, and finish, but it's so different than their tool watches that it seems like it would be a more obvious addition to people's collections, but I rarely ever see them out in the wild.
Well, this one's really fun, but speaking of conversation starters, let me bring in this Omega Planet Ocean 600 meter. This is definitely a standout. Ripley, I know you've got some pretty fun details on this stainless steel beauty.
I don't know if I have any fun details. The watch itself is all the fun. I can give you some details on it, but I mean, just look at it. It's not, it's a fun watch. Like, what it is a Planet Ocean chronograph in stainless steel. So it's 45.5 millimeters. It's 600 meters, so 2,000 feet water resistance, got a helium escape valve. But that bezel, it's a very stunning diamond bezel, despite being fully diamond. It does have a luminous pip at 12 and is unidirectional, so it does still function as it should. But what you really, I think its value proposition here is its price relative to other gem set dive watches.
Sure.
In their present catalog, Rolex doesn't offer a gem set bezel sub. That's an off-catalog item, and if you can get it, it is insanely expensive. This on the open market sells for about the same price as a stainless steel Submariner, and if you want a in-your-face, outwardly luxurious gem set sports watch, I'm having a hard time thinking of a stronger buy than this one.
This is a factory bezel though, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. No, we don't sell anything aftermarket, so this is 100% factory. It's sold by Omega in this exact configuration, and because of that, the diamonds are expertly set. They're all white color, pure to VVS clarity, so they're really, really well done, just like you get from any other top-tier luxury watch manufacturer. But what you don't have to pay is the insane price for like an off-catalog diamond bezel Submariner, and I think it makes quite a visual impact at 45.5 millimeters.
Oh yeah, you're not missing this, are you?
Yeah, this is, we talk about conversation starters. This one can give the advisor a run for its money, right? This watch to me kind of does everything. It's a chronograph, it's a dive watch, it's got the diamond set luxurious bezel. I mean, it's just a mashup of so many different things, but it looks good. And like you said, the diamonds are so well done, and it's beautiful. I like the colors. I like how it's the stainless and the diamonds and the black, and then it has the black accents on the pushers. So the package as a whole looks really nice.
Yeah.
It's just not something you're used to seeing all the time, right? I mean, how often do you see, a dive watch chronograph with a helium escape valve and a full diamond set bezel? I mean, we don't run into that very often.
No.
Yeah, and just like any other Planet Ocean chrono, you can operate those pushers underwater, so it's a very functional piece despite its outwardly lavish exterior. For me, I think this is the perfect Vegas pool party watch. I mean, you don't necessarily want to be out there with a solid platinum or gold piece. That might be a little bit too much money on your wrist when you're drunk and having a good time. This in stainless steel, it's very durable, but at the same time, like, you're still flexing. That's a solid diamond bezel, but if you catch it on the edge of the pool getting out or what have you, it's harder than gold. It's steel, so you're probably not going to mess it up as much.
It's still a sport watch. It's still a tool watch, and yeah, it can handle it.
Definitely a fun one. Well, let's go ahead and bring in our next watch. All right, we've got this Panerai PAM 01055. Loving on this stainless steel bezel. Green colorway. Goodness. What else do you know?
This is a cool watch.
Yeah, it's a cool watch. Green might be the color of 2021, it seems, but this actually comes from 2019. Panerai released a number of green watches that year. This is a 42 millimeter submersible in stainless steel. So the submersibles, they're purpose-built dive watch series that used to be part of the Luminor. So just like the Luminor, you have that prominent crown protecting bridge, but these have a rotating timing bezel. This piece is a 500 piece limited edition that was e-commerce only, so not sold in any boutiques, online only, with 100 of those 500 examples allocated for US markets. So there's not really that many out there. And I think a notable thing on this is the green dial. Typically Panerai chooses to pair green with its bronze watches. So this being in a steel watch and a submersible on top of that is a bit noteworthy, and I know it's one that a lot of people want. 42 millimeters is a really wearable size, and for those like myself that can't quite always swing a 44 millimeter Panerai, 42 is kind of perfect. And I know there are a lot of people happy to see this one join the lineup.
Absolutely. 42, like you said, I think that's one of the best things about this watch. It's 42 millimeters. It's not small by any means. It's smaller than a lot of other Panerais, but still, it's a pretty imposing watch on your wrist. It's just manageable. And it still has that Panerai look. It has, like you said, it has the crown guard that you expect. It has that bezel. And then with the green on top of it, it's just, it kind of completes the package. It has the dial, the strap that goes through it, and it's all that, that, which I think is a great green. Also, it's that very OD military green, which, kind of brings me back to Panerai's history in the military. I just think it's a really good fit. I think it's much better than a green you would see, like the green that Rolex would do, which is great for them. I'm just happy to see the Panerai kind of went a little bit different direction for it, and, chose the kind of matte olive color, and I think it's a really great looking piece.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think another thing that helps its size is it is a submersible, so you have that thicker bezel, and the bezel being in steel makes for just a smaller dial, like you'll sometimes see on dive watches that have steel bezels. And so it is 42, it's still a cushion case, it's quite large on paper, but the overall package went on your wrist, this might be one of the most wearable Panerais outside of the Due line. And I think a lot of that has to do with it being a steel rotating bezel rather than that thin fixed style like you'll see on a standard Luminor.
Let's go ahead and bring in our next watch. You guys ready for our last one? I know I am.
Let's see it.
We've got a fun variety, like we said. So our picks are coming up, but before we get to our picks, we've got this Breguet Type 22 Ripley. What do you know?
So the Breguet Type 20, Type 22, the series of chronographs have their overall inspiration and lineage in pieces that were made for military specifications for the French Air Force. Now that design has lended itself to a whole series of chronographs, with this being one of them. This one you can see it's with the red accents, it's a bit more modern and sporty, but the party piece of this watch is its movement. If you'll see in red on the dial, it says 10 hertz. That relates to the frequency of the movement. Most movements are 4 hertz. This is 10 hertz, so it beats really fast. Not only is it a flyback chronograph, but it has a date, second time zone with a 24-hour indicator for the second time zone. And because it's a 10 hertz movement, what the seconds hand does is, instead of counting 1 minute per revolution, it's 30 seconds. So you get more precision timing in those partial second intervals. So let me go ahead and start it right here. You'll see the red hand start. And if you'll notice, it's moving really fast. At here, it's just been 10 seconds. We're already at the 20. And the interesting thing about this chronograph is that the chronograph hands are both centrally mounted, the minute and the second. What you see at 6 o'clock, other than the date display, is the hours for the second time zone. At the 3 o'clock, it's a 24-hour indicator for the second time zone, so you can keep track of AM, PM indicators. And then running seconds, also to 30 second per rotation, is at the 9 o'clock location. Again, because it's a flyback chrono, rather than having to stop it, you press the bottom button, it snaps back to 0 and is immediately going again. And that was one of the big requirements of the original mil-spec Type 20 watches. So it's a lot of functionality and a really impressive movement with a modern iteration of a historic design. So it's a really cool watch, and if you really have to time something precisely, mechanically, it's a really solid contender.
It's different. This one does, like you said, it just does so much. And at first glance, you don't really get that. It looks like, just a standard chronograph that you'd see somewhere else. And then when you actually get into it, you see all the little details. I have to admit, the 30-second revolution for the second hand on the timing throws me off a little bit.
It's tough to manage.
It's not what you expect, but I think that's kind of cool, right? Everyone, everyone has the standard. It's 1 second, it's 60 seconds, all the way around. And this one, kind of stepping it up for that accuracy or the finer scale of timing. It's nice to see, and honestly, it's a really interesting watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're starting to see higher beat movements from several manufacturers, most notably Zenith. But this is predates all those. Those are you've kind of seen the last few years. This is a bit older. It's not a thin watch, as you can see here, but what you get out of it is more functionality than you're going to find in most other mechanical chronographs. And having a second time zone is also incredibly useful should you want to use it as your travel watch, because the crown screws down on this and you have 100 meters of water resistance despite that really high level functionality of the movement.
The design of it is another thing that I think is really nice. Outside of all the functionality and all the unique things it does, I think it's designed really well. I like the leather with the black and white and red. It carries over into the dial with the the red hands, the red and white central mounted hands. It's sporty and classy, and I think it's just designed really well all around.
It's a very balanced watch to me, especially with kind of some nuances as well.
Yeah,
I really like it. Surprisingly enough, I do like it, but I think it's that time of the day where we get to choose our favorites. We obviously want to know what your favorites are, but before we get to that, Justin, which watch stands out to you the most from this one?
I feel like every week I have a hard time choosing, and this week is no different. But
really,
yeah. So I really like that Panerai, but it's not getting it.
Ooh, the Advisor.
The Advisor. I like the Advisor. It's just so different. It's something that I don't have something already similar to it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm a sucker for a unique complication and something you don't see every day. And I just think that this one, I think it looks well. I like the functionality. It's a cool watch that's kind of under the radar. And for me, those boxes are good enough, and I'd put it on my wrist.
All right, Ripley, which one's your favorite?
I'm really tempted by the Panerai. I think the 42 millimeter submersible is, for me, one of, probably the model I'd go with. But I don't know if I necessarily get this particular one. However, the yellow gold Oyster Flex Daytona is my favorite version among those three colors of gold. I would take it over the white gold or the Ever Rose. I like how it's just a unapologetically modern watch, but kind of has that nod as far as the coloration. And with the Oyster Flex bracelet, we're now on the cusp of summer. I can see myself in that one.
It's also the smallest watch we have out here out of all these watches.
That is true.
At 40 millimeters.
40 millimeters. It is 2 millimeters smaller than the next smallest. So I've got small wrists, so that suits me perfectly.
Yep. The 40 millimeters definitely kind of catches my eye, especially just in a wearability feature for me. I will admit that the Advisor is just such a standout piece to me. Despite being 42, I don't know. There's something special about it that adds to that overall, unique package that I'm always looking for. As much as I want to take this, I really cannot deny the Panerai, guys. I know you all said you were tempted by it.
Oh, thank God you chose it. Now I can borrow it. Now I can borrow it.
Yes, you can. The versatility that this adds alone to kind of the overall collection, I cannot deny this. I think that this overall package as a whole is just stunning. And honestly, especially just in limited quantities, I know I'm not going to see it everywhere. That's kind of one of my favorite things. But I'm a little nervous about the 42, but I think overall, I'm just going to rock it. It's going to be a good one.
I think it wears nice. You could pull it off easily.
Definitely pull it off.
Thanks. I'm excited to add this to my collection someday. It is definitely available at bobswatches.com, which is pretty cool. But more than anything on our favorites, we obviously want to know what watch spoke to you the most this episode. We had a nice variety, which I think was pretty fun. Not just sticking into kind of some regular stuff that
some different things today.
Yeah, absolutely. And neat features as well. So be sure to let us know what watch you enjoyed the most this week. And as always, we will be back next week with some more of our kind of favorites and underrated watches that we get to see here at Bob's Watches. So until then, you guys, be well. We'll see you soon.